welcome to another, I'm not quite sure what channel this is on video. Maybe we're on English Sparkling with Tweedy, even though this is not a sparkling wine, however, it is English. I have a couple of times revisited this. This is Gusbourne's Still Red Pinot Noir, Gusbourne in Kent. And I bought a case of 6 of these in July 2023, just over 2 years ago, no, a bit over 2 years ago now. And they've been festering away in my cellar. The cellar's a bit mouldy. I don't know if you can pick up the mould on the label there. The background to this was that I think just prior to that, in the summer of 2023, I had tried the 2018, which I suppose at that point would be about 5 years old, as this is now in 2025. And I'd had previous bottles of the 2018 vintage of this wine from Gusbourne, and thought they were all right, interesting at best. And suddenly some magical transformation happened at that 5-year point, and that one probably final bottle of that case of 6 of the 2018 drank in 2023 was actually quite amazing. I think I happened to be in Kent as well at the time. That might have helped, I don't know. I've been trying these periodically, the 2020 vintage, and to date none of them have really blown me away, if I'm honest. So this is the last throw of the dice now. I mean, I probably should have kept this for much longer, but I'm impatient. What can I say? How mouldy is that on the inside? Not too bad. My cellar stocks are running a bit low, and somehow I just felt in the mood for some English still red wine today. Wanted to revisit and see what sort of state this is in. That is a Diam cork with a 3 rating, so they're only expecting this to be aged for 3 years. So, still red Pinot Noir from Kent, made by Gusbourne. 5 years old now. I don't think English still red Pinot actually gets aged very often. It tends to be made in small quantities and usually just gets bought up, drank. People say, that's interesting, possibly shows promise, and that's the end of it really. So that is what that looks like. It's always, as I recall it, being a sort of lighter, paler colour than, for example, Burgundy. You don't quite get the same level of deep, intense colour that you'd get from a Burgundy. And on the nose, before giving it a first swirl, I am still met with that sort of slight, I always want to call this menthol, this trait of, I think this is something you get from youthful Pinot, a slight sort of almost medicinal quality, like a menthol-y medicinal sort of quality, which might actually be something vaguely herbal in reality. I'm pretty sure they're not an organic producer, so it's not. I think some biodynamic wine producers claim that herbal notes in the wine comes from the herbal teas that are used in place of pesticides and fungicides. I don't think that's the case here. With a bit further nosing, that is sort of morphing into a mild kind of cherry. Yeah, so this is pretty much how I've remembered these bottles being all along. Cherry and a bit of menthol, vague cherry, vague light, delicate cherry, a bit of menthol. I think there might also be things like slight hedgerow notes, things like rosehip possibly there. Yeah, maybe a very slight floral / hedgerowy sort of note, somewhere between wild rose and rosehip. I think wild rose doesn't really have a particularly strong fragrance, does it? There's some on a bush in the hedge over there. Let's give that a bit of air, see what it does. More red berry fruit after a bit of a swirl. Sort of raspberries, probably cranberries. Maybe a hint of strawberry, that sort of thing. I'm noticing the cherry less now. Yeah, this is still pretty much how I remember it. I can't remember how long ago it was. It was probably only a few months ago, so perhaps it was unrealistic to think this would change drastically in that space of time. On the palate, yeah, it's okay. The fruit character again makes me think of cranberry, as that slight sort of bitterness around the edges, a bit like cranberry. And partly I think that's also a tannic sensation there, but yeah, it is sort of fruity, but quite dry and quite light, I think. Definitely doesn't have the intensity or concentration of really good Burgundy, for example. Yeah, it's all right. It's still all right. Interesting. It's not a terrible wine. It's quite drinkable, but that magic moment of that 2018 that I tasted near the, I was looking at the Medway megaliths, I think, and I was by possibly the White Horse Stone. Is it near the near Kitts County? Is that Kitts County or is it somewhere else? I think it's Kitts County, that sort of area. That 2018 of this wine just suddenly had transformed into something really quite good, rather than just interesting and okay and drinkable as this is. Yeah, bit woody again. I think there was quite a lot of oak contact in the making of the whole series of this wine. And in its early stages, it came across as really smoky somehow. Smoke's died away, but I'm still getting a fair amount of wood on the nose there. Yeah, I mean, who knows? The experiment is over now, so there isn't an option to give this another 5 years. I don't know if this vintage is being sold anymore, and I don't really know if I'd want to buy another 6 bottles, even if it was. 5 years in, you would really expect Burgundy to be getting decent. I mean, 2020 for Burgundy was a difficult vintage. It would have been a good vintage, I would have thought, for English wine, because having a warmer than usual year is a good thing here. A warmer than usual year in Burgundy is perhaps a bad thing, because they lose acidity and get a little bit flabby and jammy and all the bad things. This ought to have been a good vintage. I think similar-ish in a way to 2018. It was quite a warm summer. But yeah, it's all right. Still not setting the world on fire. I don't think the winemakers of Burgundy need to be panicking yet that their empire is under threat.